Hi, all. It's Sarah Saxby, your transformation coach at Strategies for Happiness, author of Comfortable Hell, and your guide to a new way forward. And today, I'm actually going to kind of jump ahead a little bit and talk about when I finally left my relationship and how I did it, like what my thought process was. And I'm sure as future vlogs happen, it's like I'll go back into things, and I mean, this is going to be a lot. Like, I'm excited to share a ton of things, but I want to kind of go to the day that I left and around that time, and it was a long time coming. I know that I wasn't strong enough to leave any time before that, and I had a lot of fears of what he would do to retaliate. Because, I mean, with narcissism, it's like, they'll do anything. And I know that he already had, when he kind of figured that I was contemplating, leaving, I know that, that they prepare. They're very prepared. They're very smart. They're very organized, because when you control someone, you have to be very organized, right? With like everything that you're doing every day. And I have a spiritual teacher, and I think I mentioned this before, but she said that we're not going to go through another year, which I'm sure we went through many years, where I was just going to complain and literally not do anything. It's like all I wanted to do was plead my case and prove the absolute shocking shit that I was living under, that I was putting up with. And it's like I loved to just write in my book, that I'm sure he read, but I would just write in my book about all the fucking horrible things that he was doing and that I was putting up with. And oh my God, can you believe this? And it's like, I love to just go and talk to anybody. Which I wasn't talking to a lot of people at the time, but like my teacher, and just be like, can you fucking believe this? And, and then finally she was just like, look, Sarah, we're not doing this anymore. We're not. This is it. It's time to go. And so I knew it was, but I thought I'd give it one more shot or whatever. And I was trying to gain some autonomy, and I knew financially that was the first way to do it. So because I was being very controlled financially, and so I was like, okay, we're gonna split, our finances now, and we're gonna have a pot in the middle there of, all of our expenses for the month, and we're going to put that in and just take from there and whatnot. And, I really thought that this would help, but I think to him, it meant it was over. And I know that at that point, if he's not willing to look at it from a growth standpoint, and that relationships can be different. They don't have to be where, it's such like I have that, I wrote a blog about how anxiety or control is just a way to reduce anxiety, right? So the more control he had, the less his anxiety, it would keep his anxiety down. And me offering to be financially autonomous, I think, was like the beginning of the end to him. Like he wasn't interested in that, because he's actually quite rude to me. Like, we're sitting here trying to fix our relationship, but he was pretty mean about it when I started to say, this is what we have to do. He was like, good, why don't you just dwindle your money down and not have any, whatever the fuck, like shit like that. And I'm like, you realize we're trying to work on a relationship, and you just said that to me? Like, you hope that I just dwindle it all down? Like that's someone who loves me, right? Yeah, real supportive. But anyway, so, it was just like one thing after the next of, just the expectation that he had, like I couldn't benefit from any sort of, I don't know, like, maybe he was getting reimbursed for our cell phone account, at his job. And, we got like, I don't know, $100 off or whatever. Well, he was charging me. He was like, no, you have to pay me for your cell phone because it's on my account, but you have to pay full price. And I'm like, well, we get $100 off. He's like, that's my discount, not yours. But then he looked at me and was like, I need to order supplements and I would appreciate if you would order them for me because I get a discount. And I said, how is that? What? Like, did you fall and hit your head? Like, if I'm not getting one, you're not. Like, but it's just that expectation, So I don't know. It was just a million things. And then that vlog the episode that I had a few episodes ago when I talked about, that big glow up night where he was pissed that, I said I wasn't in the mood or whatever. And that really set him off, when I would say stuff like that. That was, I think I started sleeping in another bedroom or something. I don't know. I don't really remember the end, and how that was all shaking out. But I said, it's time. This is it. And we have to sell the house. And so I went to a therapy appointment and I said, I'm getting out. Actually, hold on. I forgot. I wanted to tell you guys how I actually got out. I was driving home from a soccer game with my son, and he was, I don't know, how old was he at the time? 17 maybe? I don't know, something like that, 16, 17. And he sat and he turned down the music and he's like, Mom, I have to talk to you about something. And I said, God, yes. And he's like, he goes, what the fuck are you doing with that man? And I was like, and he's like, because if you're staying because of us, he said, don't. And I was just like, it just felt like all, just like things just like, I don't know if it was a weight. I don't know what it was, but he was like, you really need to get out of there. We need to get out of there. And I said, well, how do you think your sisters will feel? And he's like, I'll deal with that, or, they'll be fine, because I was really enmeshed. We were all enmeshed in this home and, whatnot. And, but it was my son that told me that it was like I needed that, that boost. And he's very inspirational. But I needed that boost and to know that, because here I go again, upsetting a home. And even though I know it was the right thing to do, but I got us in a situation, I just let it get to this point where it was freaking awful. And I needed, my son to literally say, let's go, and he gave me his advice on where he thought we should go. And so that evening I had a therapy appointment, or not that evening, but that week or whatever, I had an appointment with my therapist. And I said, I'm leaving. Like, this is it. And she said, okay. And she said, can you live in the house until you sell it? Can you live with him? And inside, I was crying because there's no way I could live another minute with this person. Like, you know what I mean? It's horrible. And she, and I said, well, and I, blah, 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 blah. And she said, Sarah, can you live in the house with him until you sell it? And I just lost it. And I said, no. And she's like, what's the plan? And she's like, where do you want to live? Where would be the best option? And I told her, and she said, well, it looks like you have a phone call to make. And she's like, you need to make that phone call as soon as you leave here. And I made a lot of phone calls when I left to let everyone know what my plan was. And the next morning I waited until he went to work. And the minute he walked out, I literally started packing my car and I went to my safe place, where I was, where we stayed until I got my shit together. We sold a house and got everything out. And, it was one of those ordeals where I get there and everything in the garage and attic and everything's gone. What happened to it? Well, yeah, I moved it out. Oh, so I just don't get anything in here. I'm sure that's where my fucking CDs were. But anyway, so yeah. And what happened after that was incredible. As far as the next, the 4 months after that, were very it was like it was like a blur, because it was selling the house, moving, dealing with him, giving up my dog, going to the police station, to with my 300 pages of him logging into my shit, and looking for a new place to live, while having 3 teenagers that I do not want to upset at all, which they're stronger than you think, and just all the things that have to do with that, if you can imagine. As most, I'm sure a lot of you know, selling a house and buying a house and moving. I got movers. What? 3 times? It was, I think. Yeah, because I had to move into storage and all that, and it's a lot of money, and it was like a blur. But I made it all happen. It was like it was literally like I just put my head down and went forward and made all of this happen. And I'd like to talk a bit, maybe in my next episode, about the trauma, sort of the like PTSD that happened once I was finally in my home, and sort of things were coming down. I was, my cortisol was like this for months and months while I was getting everything done. And then when it finally started things were kind of hormonally crashing down, I was in pretty bad shape. And I guess I want to kind of talk about that. But so that was my escape, kind of a very high level overview of all the things that happened. But I just wanted you guys to know that it wasn't easy. And I spent a lot of time going, holy shit, like, because I just built this, I put the blinders on and built this relationship that should have never happened. I changed myself. I put myself completely on the back burner, to avoid any sort of emotional disturbance. And I had to wait for my child to literally say something to me before I was able to literally leave the house. But I knew I had to leave abruptly, because that wasn't going to work, but any other way. So, leave your comments. Happy to hear them. Happy to connect with you all. strategiesforhappiness.com, and my vlog is Comfortable Hell. And we'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.